Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy. Remember it so you don't have to. There is no doubt about it. The Simpsons has defined a generation of humor. It was slick, it was clever, it was satirical, it had unforgettable characters, and it left its mark forever on television history. Clearly it was ahead of its time and taken off the air far too early. And if it was still on air today, I'm sure it would continue to inspire and challenge all of the masses out there. God damn it, it's still on! Yes, like most people, I really wish The Simpsons would just up and die so we could talk about what a great impact it had on comedy as opposed to asking why the hell they're beating a dead horse with another dead horse. But either way, we still end up saying the exact same thing. Wasn't The Simpsons funny? And the answer is yes. Yes, it was. Despite the fact that they've more than overstayed their welcome, we still can't forget what an entertaining, quotable, and hilarious impact the show has had on us. It's one of the most influential shows in that it helped form so many people's sense of humor. So many of us today get our delivery, our writing, our performing, and just our straight-up sense of comedy from the genius that was The Simpsons. But again, I must ask, which ones had the biggest impact? Which ones were the most memorable, meaningful, or just downright funny? Well, let's travel back to Springfield, Massachusetts. This is the top 11 best Simpsons episodes. Our best episode. Number 11. Deep Space Homer. Just the title alone invites so many possibilities, and The Simpsons take advantage of all of them. I mean, think about it. Homer in space. This is gotta build up a lot of good jokes. And it does. NASA's ratings, as well as their funding, is going down the toilet. So they decide to find the everyman to send up into space to get more viewers. The results are Barney and Homer, resulting in every kind of joke you can imagine out of these two. Drunk jokes.
For the duration of the training, there'll be no more beer.
What? 3 whole weeks with only wine?
Exercise jokes.
There once was a man from Nantucket who's gone!
Movie jokes.
The only danger is if they send us to that terrible planet of the apes.
They even got Buzz Aldrin to guest star. Isn't that great to hear one of the first men on the moon say,
"Careful, they're ruffled."
The jokes range from visual, to verbal, to story-driven, to character-based. And just about all of them hit bullseyes. They showed us exactly what we wanted to see with this setup and had us laughing all the way through. Number 10. Itchy and Scratchy and Marge. This fuels an issue that is still being argued about today. How much of violence in our youth is based on media? In this episode, Maggie imitates a stunt she saw on Itchy and Scratchy and injures Homer on the head. When Marge sees where it came from, she starts an all-out war with the cartoon makers. At first, they ignore her, but after a while she gains quite a following, enough that the producers feel they have to change their product to a friendlier image.
They share and love and share, love, share, the Itchy and Scratchy Show.
The kids don't like it anymore and partake in a revolutionary idea, going outside. Everything seems surprisingly peaceful until a tour of Michelangelo's David comes into town and all of Marge's followers want her to protest it. But in reality, Marge sees it as a work of art, which leads to a perfect crossroads of freedom of speech and censorship.
Well, what do you have to say to all those Marge Simpson wannabes out there who wish to suppress David's doodle?
But what makes this episode so great is that it's not directly attacking freedom of speech or censorship. It basically shows that whichever choice you make, there's always going to be consequences. In reality, they leave the choice up to you. Is it better to silence expression and free will in the hope for the greater good? Or let freedom ring despite the fact that most of what we're giving people is garbage? It doesn't take a side, it instead attacks everyone, which is when The Simpsons writing was at its best. In the end, there are no clear answers, but there are a lot of interesting issues. For a show that was certainly controversial when it came out, it would have been very easy just to throw together an episode where they say screw censorship. But instead, they took a very clever, very adult, and very thought-provoking angle. Not bad for an episode that mostly features a cat getting horribly disfigured. Funny. Number 9. Homer's Enemy. This is easily one of the darkest episodes The Simpsons have put out. And I'm not gonna lie, that's what makes it so enjoyable. We're introduced to a man named Frank Grimes, a genius mind who had no breaks in life, was met with nothing but misfortunes, and never had anything handed to him. He gets a job at the power plant where he comes across Homer Simpson, obviously the exact opposite. Everything was handed to him, he has no idea about sacrifice, and is as dumb as, well, Homer Simpson. Grimes is horribly confused / enraged that such a man can exist, and wants to prove to Homer, the world, and himself that this is not how life works. People have to answer for their consequences and take responsibility for their actions. But Homer's actions constantly have no punishment. Actually, they do, except it's often given to Grimes.
How dare you destroy my valuable wool and spill my priceless acid? Stay the hell away from me, because from now on, we're enemies.
Do I have to do anything?
The more and more Grimes tries to expose Homer for the fraud that he is, the more and more Homer is rewarded and Grimes is punished. Again, they could have made Grimes just the straight-up bad guy, but honestly, you really sympathize with him. Why are sometimes good, smart people punished and bad, stupid people rewarded?
I've had to work hard every day of my life, and what do I have to show for it? This briefcase and this haircut. And what do you have to show for your lifetime of sloth and ignorance?
What?
2 cars, a beautiful wife, a son who owns a factory, fancy clothes, and lobsters for dinner.
It's just him trying to get some clarity in life and him obviously receiving no answers, or at least none that make any sense. I guess you could argue it's sort of a leave good enough alone story, but the ending is so dark and closes on an image that is downright mean-spirited that it reaches major uncomfortable levels as Simpson episodes go. And you know what? That's kind of funny once in a while. Sometimes we need something really harsh and mean to mix it up with all the shrugging happy endings we get so much. And this one is definitely an enjoyably unpleasant episode. I mean, even for a Simpsons episode, the ending is shockingly aggressive. It's sort of like the No Country for Old Men of the show. You know you just watched something disturbing, but you feel even worse for having enjoyed it.
If you lived in any other country in the world, you'd have starved to death long ago.
He's got you there, Dad.
Number 8. Cape Fear. This is one of those episodes everyone keeps bringing up, and for a while, I didn't get why. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but why do so many people always pick it as one of their favorites? Well, watching it again, I found it's not just funny, it's really funny. Being the 3rd appearance of Sideshow Bob, this was the first time he didn't have a diabolical scheme for power lined up, but instead just wanted straight-up vengeance on his arch-nemesis Bart Simpson. It was actually one of the first times you saw Bart in real peril, like someone was actually trying to murder him. And it came from the perfect person you'd want to see try to murder him. I guess from that angle it's pretty cool. I mean, we have seen this confrontation building up for several episodes, and they delivered it just at the right time. You know, before it became every other season. But on top of that, practically every joke works in this episode. Big or small, visual or verbal. It's hard to think of a scene that didn't make me laugh out loud at just the absurdity of it. Remember this, Jem?
This is dedicated to Bart Simpson with a message, I am coming to kill you slowly and painfully.
How about this one?
Hey kids, wanna drive through that cactus patch?
Yeah!
No!
Whoop, 2 against 1.
And need we forget... Throw in a clever knockoff of Cape Fear and you have a damn funny episode with lots of laughs that pay off. Number 7. Homer at the bat. Again, sometimes just putting a character in a certain scenario is all you need. Homer playing baseball. Boom, the jokes just write themselves. Mr. Burns starts a softball team to which Homer seems to do surprisingly well with, all because of what he claims is his magic bat. But once Burns makes a $1 million bet with another power plant team, the game is on to cheat like nobody's cheated before. He gets some of the greatest baseball players of all time on his side and forms the ultimate super force. What makes this episode so good is not only the writing, but also the fact that they actually got these players to do the voices. They even managed to give a lot of them sort of comedic personalities, like Daryl Strawberry's a kiss-ass, Steve Sachs is upbeat, and Ozzie Smith is trustingly naive. Even with all these people to juggle though, they still keep the focus on Homer, never losing track that it is still his story. All of the players are funny and memorable, all our characters are funny and memorable, the conclusion is something of a perfect anticlimax, and it ends on one of the funniest stills of the show. It's an all-star cast with all-star jokes. What's not to love?
We're talking Homer, Ozzie and the Straw.
Number 6. 22 short films about Springfield. A lot of people complain that the Simpsons episodes don't really have a flowing narrative. In fact, the story they start off with often has nothing to do with what they end on. Well, in this episode, they just go for broke and straight up show the lives of Springfield and their day-to-day troubles. We get a few minutes with Lisa, a few minutes with Smithers, a few minutes with Dr. Nick, a few minutes with Homer. We even get a few minutes with Bumblebee Man. Surprisingly, what I do like about this episode is that they do sort of connect. Like, Lisa will be chased by bees, so we follow one of those bees to Smithers. He gets stung and goes to the hospital, where we see Dr. Nick is going to work. He ends up draining the power, which leads to the lights flickering in another story, and so on and so forth. So each story very loosely does come together. They even make fun of the fact that they're telling the story in such a strange way that they even make a few Pulp Fiction homages. It's great just to see the characters do what they do, and not necessarily have to be bound by a 3-act structure all the time, as well as a happy ending. Sometimes the jokes and characters can simply come from the jokes and characters. I think the only nitpick I have is that while they did connect a lot of the stories together, they never did connect it through the commercial interruptions. And it really annoys me because it's like the commercials just get in the way of everything. Number 5. Marge versus the Monorail. This is another one where the comedy is just on. When I think of an episode that just had a ton of energy, a ton of music, and a ton of jokes, this one often pops in there. Springfield comes into a ton of money and there's a town meeting held about what to do with it. A con artist recommends building a monorail, never giving away that he plans to buy cheap, faulty parts and keep the rest of the money for himself. And he recommends it in probably the most amusing of ways.
And I swear it's Springfield's only choice. Throw up your hands and raise your voice. Monorail. What's it called? Monorail. Once again.
Again, this leads to a lot of great possibilities, like Homer being the conductor.
Homer, there's a family of possums in here.
I call the big one Bitey.
A lot of the characters getting on board, discovering what happened to the original monorail, even somehow working Leonard Nimoy into one of his strangest cameos.
No, the world needs laughter.
It has a song number, it has action, it has great character-based jokes, it just has hit after hit after hit. And each one continues to get a bigger laugh after the next. There's nothing much else to say about it except monorail, monorail, monorail.
Monorail!
Mono, don't!
Number 4. Homer the Great. We all like to fantasize about another world we don't see, where people get more privileges than the everyday common person. Well, this is the Simpsons' take on it. Not only is it funny, but the layout of the story is just friggin' perfect. Homer stumbles across an ancient order of the Stonecutters, an organization that really doesn't do anything except keep secrets and reward itself.
You put that sticker on your car so you won't get any tickets. And this other one keeps paramedics from stealing your wallet while they're working on you.
Oh, and don't bother calling 911 anymore. Here's the real number.
Ooh.
Now that's pretty funny. Homer manages to get in, but gets in big trouble when he accidentally destroys their sacred parchment. That's also pretty funny. They discover a birthmark on him, though, that indicates that he is the chosen one, said to bring balance to the Stonecutters. And he, of course, abuses the power like mad. That's really funny. But then it turns out he is the chosen one when he starts to feel bad and takes on some responsibility by helping the community. Only to find that the Stonecutters don't want balance and instead want to go back to getting drunk and doing nothing. And the way they get out of being Stonecutters, I won't dare ruin for you here. But let's just say it's a perfect bookend to a perfect joke, and a clear sign of how stupid and immature the whole idea of privileged organizations can be. It's another one of those that just has great joke after great joke, many of them ranging from very creative to just bizarre. Like, remember who makes up the Stonecutter High Council? How the hell did they even come up with those people? Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, give it a watch and find out what you've been missing.
We do.
Thank you.
Number 3. Lisa's Wedding. The Simpsons have done a lot of what-if future episodes, but by far the funniest and probably the most heartfelt is Lisa's Wedding. This is the first time you feel like this is what the Simpsons would really be doing several years down the line. Bart's a construction worker, Lisa's top of her class, and Maggie apparently is a blabbermouth gossip, and yet we still never hear her talk. That is friggin' genius. But it's more than just showing us their future selves, it's following the story of Lisa meeting another student and falling in love. Once he proposes, the rest of the episode is the groom trying to fit in with the family, but hopelessly being disturbed and terrified by them. It's a good episode because not only is it funny, but it also shows Lisa's connection to her roots. And the fact that she can be annoyed by them but still not even flinch for a second about how much she loves them is really quite touching. On top of that, the groom is actually a pretty entertaining character too. It would have been easy just to make him a generic jerk, and granted they don't make him the nicest guy, but they actually do give him a few funny lines and a few good scenes to work off of.
Oh, an English boy, eh? You know, we saved your ass in World War II.
Yeah, well, we saved your ass in World War III.
That's true.
But of course, we love seeing what happens to these people in the future. Mr. Burns, Krusty, Lenny, Carl. Every reveal gets a big laugh. It's also funny seeing our cute little innocent child characters suddenly get some more adult jokes.
You didn't have a bachelor party.
We had one in his honor. I had one in his honor. I went to a strip club.
Throw on top of that a touching story with great character, and you have one of the Simpsons' finest. Number 2. The Halloween episodes. Yeah, I know it's a cheat, but hey, if I was to judge the Halloween episodes show by show, they take up half of the list. They're that good. The Halloween episodes are a great excuse for the Simpsons to do whatever they want. You know, before they start doing whatever they want. They were dark, they were creative, they were satirical, they were gory, they were cute, they were poignant, they were stupid. They were all just tiny little masterpieces. Plus, who doesn't look forward to those aliens every year?
What happened to us, Kodos?
Quiet, you.
Even with the last few Halloween episodes not being so great, you know you're still gonna watch them. We know they're worth looking at because even when you have to sit through the groaners, the bullseyes are still worth them. Even the worst Halloween episode has something to admire. They satirize everything from TV to movies to literature to urban legends. I suppose if I had to nitpick, I'd say the one downside is that the specials used to be tied together by something representing a narrative, like somebody telling a story or someone having a dream, something like that. I do miss those, but at the same time I do acknowledge it would be very tricky every year to come up with new ways to tell these shorts, so I do understand. But when you get down to it, that's not what we're here for. We are in fact here for the shorts. Even at its poorest, there's always something entertaining or creative, and the Halloween specials never disappoint on that front. Gothic, gross, and just going all out, the Halloween episodes are always a fave.
Happy Halloween, everybody!
Now, before I get to number 1, I want to point out that this is all opinion-based.
We're gonna hate it, aren't we?
Everyone has their own different take on things.
It's a real bad one, isn't it?
What you might like, I might not. What I may like, you may
hate
not
it
enjoy.
already.
I'll just show it. And the number 1 Simpsons episode is Bart Gets an F. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, the first episode of the second season? Isn't that just the one where Bart keeps failing? I don't remember that one being especially funny. Why is this one so special? Well, there's several reasons why I think this is the best episode. First off, it was the beginning of the new animation style. The Simpsons weren't as rubbery or dead-eyed like in the first season. Now they seem much more flowing, controlled, and alive. So that was a big deal. Second, this was a huge stepping stone in terms of writing. The Simpsons' identity was finally starting to evolve into that fast, satirical, tight way of telling jokes. In the first season, it was pretty slow and clunky, but here, this is where that great Simpson speed finally starts to take off. But even that's not why I consider it the best episode. We're used to seeing Bart get bad grades. Yeah, whatever, he's a troublemaker, it's part of the territory. But in this episode, it finally starts to add up. They have a real talk with him, much like how real parents and real teachers talk to kids as well.
Bart has failed his last 4 exams in history. Is there anything you're not telling us?
Okay. Why are we dancing around the obvious? I know it, you know it, I am dumb, okay? Dumb as a post. Think I'm happy about it?
There, Bart. As shameful and as emotionally crippling as it may be, I'm afraid my recommendation is for Bart Simpson to repeat the 4th grade.
What? You can't hold me back. I'll do better, I promise.
Sure, that'll be the day.
There's suddenly something at risk, and something Bart values is now truly on the line. So what? He buckles down, works hard, and everything is fine, right? Actually, no. He finds he has trouble focusing, can't remember any facts, and is constantly distracted by the world around him. He doesn't give up, though. He tries hard, almost to the point of torturing himself. He even prays to God for things to work out. But in the end, despite all his efforts, reality takes its toll.
Well, Bart, it's a 59. That's another F.
Oh, no. I can't believe it.
And in my opinion, this is the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen in this show.
Well, what's the matter? Well, I would think you'd be used to failing by now.
No, you don't understand. I really tried this time. I really tried. This is as good as I can do, and I still failed.
I identify a lot with this episode. I wasn't a very good student growing up either, and I can tell you all the talks, all the pressure, all the fears of failure are properly represented here. In my opinion, this is the most dramatic episode they've ever put out. There's no villain, there's no one element to blame, it's just a tough slice of life. And it shows that you can still try your best and not necessarily succeed, which is a hard lesson for anyone to learn. So hard that they don't even really teach it that much in TV or movies. It's tough to deal with, and this episode doesn't sugarcoat it. It shows just what impact it has on him and how much it can really hurt. Now, true, there is still a happy ending, but to be fair, I think it kind of works. His hard work does have some payoff, and he uses what he learned to his advantage. But this is the first, and in my opinion, only time The Simpsons had a perfect mix of good comedy, good storytelling, and surprisingly good drama. I've never seen an episode that balanced all 3 of those so well. You get sucked into Bart's dilemma, you feel bad for what he's going through, and you want to see him come out okay. On top of that, there's still some good laughs, a lot of heart, and a satisfactory resolution. Although I will say, if his big concern is not repeating the 4th grade, then how come in every single episode he's still in the 4th grade? I don't know, but what I do know is that this is a truly unique episode, and in my opinion, the absolute best of them all. It's touching, it's funny, it started the style that we're the most familiar with The Simpsons. It's just a gem.
Hey, look everybody! John Hancock's writing his name in the snow!
I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember... What?
Wasn't there a game you played based on The Simpsons?
No connection here. I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember, so you don't have
I'm
to.
only saying it's worth bringing up
I mean,
because,
really
you know,
think about
it
it.
had The
There's no
Simpsons
connection to
name
the
on
game.
it,
Okay,
and you
sure.
didn't make
It
a
was
joke
Simpsons.
about it
Yes,
throughout
there
the
was a
entire
Simpsons game,
video.
but that doesn't
I
mean
don't
anything
know,
to do
I
with the
just
show.
feel like
Did
it was
Matt
such a
Groening
huge
specifically make the
disaster
game?
and a
Okay, I know he did some
huge
title cards for
bomb.
Disney
Yes,
but
if it
that doesn't
really
mean that,
does
you know,
hurt you
the
and it
Simpsons
really
writers
does
wrote
affect
it or
you.
anything
I'm
like
not
that.
saying
I mean,
it does,
it's not an
I'm just
episode,
taking
it's a
a wild
freaking video
guess
game. You
here.
know what? There was a
Because
lot
the
of
way you're
Simpsons
acting right
video
now
games.
does
I mean,
sort of
okay,
seem
that
like
wasn't
a
necessarily
whiny
the worst. I
little
could have
girl.
picked a
I
lot
don't
worse,
know.
but
In
you know
my
what? You're a
opinion,
goddamn
you're an
ass.
ass.
Mono, don't